Hey guys, so we have week 2 of our mini series right now. Last time we did a lot of targeted work for the hips. We did some activation drills, some mobility, we worked in the transverse plane and talked about isometric strengthening. This week is going to be a little bit more well-rounded. We're going to hit up multiple joints and the theme is desk mobility. So all of these movements today you can perform in a seated position while you're working from home, sitting at your desk, whatever it may be. So we're going to start with an upper trap stretch. So your upper traps are your shrug muscles and they start at your shoulder blades, run all the way up into your neck. So to stretch those muscles, I'm going to have you look forward, pick a point to stare at, and then tilt your head to the side. Make sure you're not tilting your whole trunk to the side here, that everything below the shoulders is staying level. Once you're to the side, lift your arm on that side. Use the back of your hand to rest above your ear and just let the weight of your arm be heavy. Don't pull on your head. This other arm stays nice and relaxed. You can either have it hanging down on your side, you can sit on the arm to intensify the stretch a little bit. If that's too much, you can just rest with it on your lap. Hold for about 20 seconds. And then we'll do the same thing to the other side. So pick a point to look at, tilt your head, arm up, and just let the weight of your arm be heavy there. You should feel that nice stretch anywhere from the shoulder blade all the way up into your neck, depending on where that muscle is tight on you. The second stretch we're going to do is for your levator. This is a smaller muscle that also originates on the shoulder blade up into the neck and helps to elevate the shoulder blade. To stretch this muscle, I'm going to have you look down towards your hip. Hand on that side now comes on the back of your head, and you're going to round your head downward. You can play around with the rotations. You can kind of turn your head more into your armpit. You can look down more towards your thigh. Wherever you feel the most intense stretch along the back of your neck, hold it there. Same thing on the other side. Look down towards your hip. Hand comes on the back of your head, and just let the weight of your arm be heavy there. Again, those are good 3 times 20 seconds, a couple times a day. The next movement we're going to do for your neck is called cervical retraction. So if we think about what happens when we're sitting for a long time, the body naturally just responds to the forces that are placed on it. So when we're sitting and looking at something in front of us, like our computer, we will automatically fall into this rounded forward posture. And what happens is our neck, to compensate, otherwise we'd be looking down, has to kind of come up into this hyperextended position. So we end up rounded through the shoulders and then hyperextended through the neck. That shortens everything in the back of the neck and it inhibits all of the stabilizing muscles that are deep in the front of your neck. If you've heard of forward head posture, that's what that refers to. So one movement we can do to promote the opposite of that is called cervical retraction. So I'm going to show you from the side here. What I'm going to do is take my chin and just retract it straight back into my spine. So it's really easy to fall into this flexion pattern. So this is cervical flexion, where my chin is moving down. But if I keep my gaze forward and think about bringing my chin straight back, make as many double chins as you can here, and that's going to be retraction. What that does is opens up the cervical facet joints in the back of your neck, brings some length to those structures that are shortened and inhibited, and then also activates those deep neck flexors just to hold your head in a more supported position while you're sitting. So for those ones, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15 reps, hold from 5 to 10 seconds each. So moving on with retraction, we're going to move down to the shoulder blades. So just like we end up in this rounded position, our shoulder blades end up moving forward on our rib cage and rounding out. So imagine that you have a pencil between your shoulder blades and you want to squeeze that pencil, really activate the mid-traps and rhomboids to bring your shoulder blades together. It's not a huge range of motion. A lot of people try to overcompensate by puffing out the sternum and extending the thoracic spine, so you kind of end up with this motion. You don't want to do that. You want to just subtly bring your shoulder blades together. You should feel some activation back there, like you're trying to squeeze that pencil between your shoulder blades. It's also really easy to fall into a pattern of upper trap compensation. So if you feel like you're bringing your shoulder blades together, but they're also coming up, chances are you're taking over with your upper traps and not isolating movement to those mid traps. So do this one in front of a mirror a couple of times. Make sure that the distance this way between your ear and your shoulder is not getting smaller by you bringing your shoulders upward. Shoulders should stay in the same plane and just be moving straight back, not up and back. Okay, so we covered some retraction. We did a lot for the neck and the shoulders. We're gonna move down into the core. And so I wanna go over an easy ab brace that you can do in sitting. So when we're sitting for a long time, we tend to get a little bit of rounding in our low back, maybe a little bit of back pain or discomfort, especially if we're sitting on a soft surface like a couch. We want to learn how to engage our core in that position. And if you're one of my patients, you know that I love this movement and I do it in a bunch of different positions. I make all my athletes go through a lot of different variations of it in a lot of different contexts. In sitting, I'm going to have you take your fingers and find the bottom of your rib cage on the outsides of your trunk. Once you find that bony rib cage, sink your fingers underneath it. Don't go so far down that you're on your hip bones. If you find that there's no space there, just sit up a little bit, straighten out your back, and sink right underneath the rib cage here. Now, we're looking for a transversus abdominal contraction. Your transversus abdominis are muscles that are deep to your obliques. So those are the muscles that, if you imagine your core like a cylinder, you have the front of your core with your rectus abdominis here, and then your lumbar spine is the back of your core. These guys are hanging out right in that lateral component and connecting the two through fascial connections. So they're really important to learn how to volitionally control this muscle. So once you're here and you're kind of sunk in, I want you to cough or laugh. And you're gonna feel some muscles kick into your fingers and move your fingers away from your midline. Transversus abdominis automatically kicks on when we abruptly change our intra-abdominal pressure. So when we cough or laugh, those muscles are the ones that kind of kick on to support the core and make sure everything is staying in place. And so gaining some volitional control over these muscles is really beneficial. So try to see if you can recreate that contraction without the cough or the laugh this time. And it does take a little practice. If you've never done this before, it'll take some time to build that mind-muscle connection. But it will get easier over time. So doing a set of 10 of those, holding for about 5 seconds, is a good way to just get the core involved even in a sitting position and to promote some more resting tone through that area so that when you go to brace your core in other situations, it's just a little easier and your body automatically is able to do that a little bit better and more efficiently. Okay, so we covered our core bracing. The last thing I want to do here is just a posterior hip stretch. So in sitting, this one's pretty easy. Take your leg in a figure 4 position and then hinge at your hips to lean your body forward, and you should feel a good opening in the back of your hip. Now be careful that you're not just rounding your back and coming forward. You want to stay nice and neutral through the low back and move your whole trunk forward in one movement. So you can hold there, or we can offer a little bit of a rotational piece. So this time, same thing, come forward. Now turn your shoulders slightly so you're towards your foot. You might feel a little bit of a different sensation, maybe a little stretch in a different area. And then same thing, now we're gonna go towards your knee. So whether it be center towards your foot or towards your knee, wherever you feel the most intense stretch is where I want you to hold that for a little while. So depending on, we're all arranged a little differently. Depending on what muscle fibers are tight on you, you might feel it in a little bit of a different spot. If you're really tight, you might also feel it all along your IT band closer to your knee. If you are having knee pain in this position or any anterior hip pinching, let me know. We can talk through a couple of progressions to make it a little more comfortable and effective for you. So we covered the neck and shoulders, did a little bit for the core and the hips, and that's our quick desk mobility segment for this week. If you guys have questions, comments, or requests for upcoming videos, just send me a message. I'd be happy to hear from you. Talk to you soon.